Hey guys, what's up? It's Biscuit Boo Horror Reviews, and I'm back with another favorite first-time watches video. You guys know the deal. I go over movies I've watched last month, which was the month of June. I can't believe we're more than halfway through the year at this point. It's kind of scary, but I'm handling it the best I can. Either way, let's just get right into it. I talk about what I've watched, that I've found interesting, that I've enjoyed, that I've found perplexing, and I share them with you guys. So let's just get right into it. Okay, so this first one, I gotta give a big disclaimer. I don't give a fuck about Marvel, superhero movies, not really too much about comic books anymore. Like, I still have a collection. I don't really go to comic shops these days too much. And ever since half-price books kind of went under, at least as far as all the locations in Ohio are concerned, I don't really have a source for cheap comic books anymore. But, I kind of stopped collecting them before COVID happened, so I'm not too upset about that, personally. That all being said, the first movie I want to talk about is the most recent Spider-Man movie, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. The first Spider-Verse movie I found to be pretty entertaining and enjoyable. I thought visually it's great. It's honestly pretty perfect visually. I thought the plot was fine. It didn't really... I don't think it's anything too revolutionary or amazing, but I do think it's a pretty good Spider-Man movie. And as somebody who grew up on like the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies and watching the old 90s Spider-Man cartoon, watching reruns of that, I have a fondness for the character. And this is the sequel to Into the Spider-Verse, and I think everybody's already talking about this one. I just kind of wanted to mention it and say that, like, I saw this, I had the chance to see this at the drive-in, and it is one of the most just, like, joy-filled, delightful experiences I've had watching a movie in a very, very, very long time. I was just, like, so into it. I was loving every second of it. I was there with Derek, and we were just chilling out in the summer air, watching this fucking movie, avoiding mosquitoes, eating Cheez-Its, drinking rum that we snuck into the drive-in. We had a great time. And, this is the second Spider-Verse movie. It has to do with Miles getting involved with a whole another batch of alternate reality Spider-Men. And, there's a lot going on in this one. I have to say, one of my favorite things about this movie, though, is the fact that you get to see Spider-Man 2099 in a film, finally. As somebody who read some of those comics as a kid, and always really thought that the 2099 subset of Marvel comics were really interesting and deserved their own movies and deserved their own... I think they deserve more attention when it comes to media than, the regular stuff does, because the regular stuff is kind of gotten old, so it was kind of cool to see that character brought to life. But yeah, I really liked it. I liked it more than the first one. I was super into it. I'm very excited for the next one, even though it's probably not going to come out for like another 3 or 4 years. They say it's going to come out next year, but I kind of highly doubt that. That being said, this one's like a 4 out of 5, 4.5 maybe. I gave it a 4.5 on Letterboxd, but I'm still in between those ratings. I was very, very optimistic the night that I watched it, and I was very just overjoyed to be at the drive-in again, and I think I might have let that kind of leak into my rating a little bit. But there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with that, But that's it. Enough cape shit for now. Let's get into real movies, for fuck's sake. Up next is Glorious from 2022. This is a fairly simple 70-minute lean cosmic horror film, essentially about a guy trapped in a rest stop bathroom with an elder god. And this elder god wants something from him. The elder god is, the voice is done by J.K. Simmons, who is an absolutely amazing actor, who was, perfectly cast as J. Jonah Jameson in Spider-Man. He's absolutely amazing in Whiplash. He's amazing as Omni-Man in Invincible. The man's got a great voice, and he really shows it off here. This movie is, it reminds me a lot of like John Dies at the End, how the John Dies at the End novels, at least, play cosmic horror for absurdism a lot of the time, and they stretch that absurdism to simultaneously really funny and really kind of horrifying and cosmically disturbing, to these extents that are both hilarious and disturbing. And yeah, Glorious is one of the ones from last year that I kind of slept on. I didn't know anything about it. My friend Alice told me about it, and we were on Discord, and they were like, "Hey, let's watch Glorious," and I was like, "Hey, let's do it." And we watched it, and we had a great time. It's a really good one, really lean, like 75 minutes. Not a bad time killer at all. If you like cosmic horror, this is definitely one of the best cosmic horror films I've seen in recent memory. Up next what's next isn't too much of like a movie. It's more of like a comedy special, but at the same time it's also a concert film, which, if you know me, I don't give a fuck about concert movies, concert films. Those things aren't really my thing, but this one really tickled my fancy. It's Rudy Ray Moore live at the Wetlands, N.Y.C. This is a basically, it's on Tubi. If you want to watch it, I highly recommend it. It's essentially Rudy Ray Moore, Dolomite himself, Petey Wheatstraw himself, the human fucking tornado himself, decrepit as hell in the early 2000s, performing live at a very, very small venue. He does some stand-up, he does some music, he does some profane songs, he does the signifying monkey bit, which is one of my favorite classic Rudy Ray Moore bits. Even if his live rendition of it isn't as good as the version that's on the album, that's fine. It's just a joy to see this man perform, and even though he's like very old and out of it, and almost the entire performance he is sitting on a stool, kind of out of breath, you can tell that he's having a good time with it, and that he's truly being himself when he does it. It's not like the most complex comedy ever. There's a lot, as one reviewer on Letterboxd I saw pointed out, there's a lot of I have a big dick jokes, a lot of I love pussy jokes, a lot of jokes like that. If you don't like raunch, this might not be for you too much. But if you love Rudy Ray Moore, if you love Dolomite, if you love that kind of stuff, and if you love raunchy humor especially, you might get a kick out of this one. Something else about this one that I found very interesting is that it was seemingly shot by like a bunch of like teenagers, like guys in their 20s maybe, on a series of like low-grade DV cams. And as a result, it keeps cutting between like 5 different cameras that all at different angles, all at very different qualities of picture and sound, resulting in this being kind of a hallucinatory, almost surreal, uncanny experience. But I had a great time with it. I was transfixed on it the entire time I watched it. I was laughing. I was having a very, very good time with this one. And it's probably my favorite stand-up special ever. And yeah, that's all I got to say about Rudy Ray Moore live at the Wetlands. This one's like a perfect score for me, by the way. And Glorious was a 4 out of 5. I'm forgetting to do the star ratings again. God damn it. Next, we have Massacre at Central High from 1976. This is a long time member of the watch list. I've always wanted to check this one out for the absolute longest time. And then it got put on Tubi. The version on Tubi is a cropped VHS transfer. It looks like shit, which is unfortunate, because this movie looks great in HD, because I found somebody had actually uploaded the whole film in HD to Facebook, of all places. So I watched the first half in shitty quality, second half in HD. It looks really nice. This is essentially a movie about a high schooler. He transfers to this new school, and one of his old friends is there, and his old friends is part of this gang of bullies that kind of terrorize the school. And he doesn't seem to like that, and suddenly, out of nowhere, these bullies start to meet really violent, horrific, accidental deaths, one by one. This movie predates movies like Heathers, for example. This is, some people even said that this film inspired Heathers, which I could definitely see some connections. But yeah, this is basically, and despite the title Massacre at Central High, this is not a horror film, although I would kind of say it leans into being a bit of a horror thriller. It's mostly a teen-sploitation thriller. Something that I found very interesting about the film is that throughout the entire runtime, up until the very end of the film, there's no teachers present in the film, there are no staff at the school, there are no parents anywhere, which I found that to be like a really interesting choice to make for the film, and I thought it kind of added to the almost surreal nature of the film somewhat. I thought Massacre at Central High was pretty good. I might have to buy the Blu-ray eventually. Even though I didn't love it and I didn't think it was perfect, and there are some political undertones in it that could be construed as being pro-fascist, I've heard at least some people say. I'm not going to say that, but I've heard that at least. Yeah, this movie is a bit of a mixed bag overall, but like I still quite liked it. I thought the performances were pretty good. Yeah, I liked it. What else can I fucking say? I'm here to talk about movies that I enjoyed and that I liked and that I found interesting, and this is one of them. Up next is The Eyes of My Mother from 2016. This is a movie that, when it came out in 2016, I had heard a couple people on YouTube who I follow say it's not that good of a movie, so I kind of avoided it, and I regret avoiding it for nearly 7 years, because this is actually a really good movie. It's a very solid debut. It's only about 70-ish minutes, so it's not too long either. It's a shot in black and white horror drama film, basically about a young woman who is very mysterious, and when she grows up on a farm with her mother, who was a surgeon in Portugal, which is where they immigrated from to America. And when her mother suddenly dies, she kind of has to become the matriarch of the house at a very young age, and it's basically about how this affected her, and how this kind of evolves from just her having to start, cooking and cleaning in the house. And things progress further and further. I kind of don't want to spoil anything, but this is one of those movies that kind of gets like a little bit more fucked up with every scene. I'm not saying this is the most disturbing movie ever. This is not Cello. This is not Mortem. This is not a Serbian film. This is not like a super disturbing movie. This is a movie that I'd be willing to watch with my parents, honestly, and I think at least my mom would probably be into it a little bit. My dad would probably fall asleep. But yeah, The Eyes of My Mother is a very interesting one. It's very beautiful looking. It's a little slow, but I think it's a really good time. And like I said, with every scene, it gets a little bit more fucked up, a little more unpleasant, a little more disturbing, a little more twisted. And I really appreciated that about it. I'm definitely going to have to look into this director, his other movies, because this is his debut film. He also did the 2020 remake of The Grudge, which I heard was really awful, and I haven't seen that one, but I might have to see it now that I've seen his first movie, because I kind of want to see how this guy interprets The Grudge, of all things, even if it was done under a studio eye. Up next is Sometimes They Come Back from, what year did this come out? 1991. This is a Stephen King adaptation. It's a TV movie from 91. I didn't even know it was a TV movie until I Googled information about it halfway through watching it, but it is indeed a TV movie. Who would have thought? Classic King shit going on here. Essentially, it is about a guy who moves back to his hometown looking for a teaching job after he leaves the town, after he left the town after his brother was killed by a gang of greasers. And he is haunted by the ghosts of the greasers who were responsible for his brother's death. And they essentially stalk him and go after his wife and stuff. It's very, very simple. It's not too complicated. The fact that the car that the greasers drive come back as a ghost too, the fact that that car comes back as a ghost as well, I found to be kind of hilarious. And again, that's just that's some Stephen King stuff. Like, that's the shit you get when you fuck with Stephen King. You get ghost cars, for fuck's sake. I haven't read the short story this is based on. It's based on a short story from the 70s. It's I think it's collected in the Night Shift collection of short stories. I don't know. I haven't read too much of King's short stuff. Visually, the film is like actually kind of varied visually. Like, I didn't even know it was a TV movie because it doesn't really look too much like a typical TV movie. Or maybe I'm just used to Stephen King TV miniseries and movies to be looking like shit, you know, because it looks like shit a lot of the time. And what is it? The Stand kind of looks like shit. What else? From what I remember, Langoliers looks like shit. Tommyknockers, from what I remember, looks like shit. I haven't seen those since I was a kid, though. The point being, this film is actually kind of varied on a technical level for a TV movie. It being a TV movie, of course, holds it back from being anything too crazy or extreme, so this is actually a movie you could probably watch with your kids, maybe not with young kids, but, you know, this is definitely, like, I think, a solid beginner horror film. Yeah, sometimes they come back. It's interesting, it's entertaining, it's got those fall, autumnal, 90s Stephen King adaptation vibes, that those classic fucking vibes that you get when it comes to, like, 90s King adaptations. And, I just love it. This was a really good one, 3.5 out of 5. Also, Eyes of My Mother gets a 4, and Massacre at Central High gets a 3.5 as well. I keep forgetting to do the fucking ratings. God damn it. Fuck, come on. And just like that, we're on to our final movie already. How time flies when one is filming a video, I guess. The final movie is a Doris Wishman film from 1961 called Nude on the Moon. Doris Wishman is a very interesting director. She directed a lot of, like, nudist colony films in the 60s. She did a couple of horror films, like A Night to Dismember, which is, I think, a pretty fun movie, and Each Time I Kill, which is a shot-on-video film she did that I thought was pretty entertaining as well. Doris Wishman is a very interesting, varied filmmaker, and I'm happy that there are now three fucking separate sets, Blu-ray sets from Something Weird and AGFA. I think it's Something Weird and AGFA collaboration. If it's not them, I know it's at least AGFA, the American Genre Film Archive. And this film is actually included in one of those sets, and I'm going to have to pick up that set because I did really like this movie. Nude on the Moon is Doris Wishman's science fiction film. I think, as far as I know, her only science fiction film. It is essentially about an independent rocket scientist who is testing a new rocket technology, a new rocket fuel, and wants to get to the moon before anybody else can. And what do you know? He gets the money and he does it. And he discovers that the moon is inhabited by naked people. And also, the moon looks a lot like the grassland, the wetlands of Florida. It also looks like a caveman colony. This was shot at, like, an actual nudist colony in Florida, which I think is wild because it's got, like, this crazy, like, just, I don't know how to describe it, but it's just straight up a caveman, like, society set piece going on in this film, and I really, really love it. It's a fun, campy little movie. It only runs about 70 minutes, pretty short and to the point, pretty enjoyable as well. This probably is my favorite Doris Wishman film out of everything I've seen from her so far. It's just got that, like, classic 60s retrofuturism going on. It's got, you know, cheap miniatures. It's got some nudity. It's, you know, got some absurdism going on. I don't know. I quite liked Nude on the Moon, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. That being said, Nude on the Moon gets a 4 out of 5 from me, and just like that, we're done with the video. That's it for now, guys. Stay tuned. In the coming weeks, or maybe even in the coming days, I will have another video up that's going to be a food video, and that one will be very, very, very fun. At least for you guys, I think it'll be fun. That's it for now. Thanks for watching. This is Biscuit Boo Horror Reviews signing off. Peace.